All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for attending my talk on AI-driven observability. My name is Kyle Shelton. I'm a senior observability architect at Grafana Labs. A little bit about me, I'm a husband and a wife, or not a wife, funny story there. A husband and a girl dad of three. That's twice I've done that, right? Yeah. Uh, I'm also an avid outdoorsman. I love to be outside. I go ice fishing once a year in Colorado. I'm a big hunter. I love camping. Kind of feral in that sense. I'm a bass coach, so I coach a high school bass fishing team, and I didn't, it's pretty cool that that's a sport now. I probably would have done a lot better in high school had I had a team to fish on instead of skipping school. But yeah, I love video games. I play FIFA, and I'm big into sim racing, iRacing. I love simulations, flight simulators. The mowing one too is a lot of fun. It's therapeutic to mow a big, space of grass. Um, Also, am a big fan of smoking meat. I can smoke a mean brisket or some baby back ribs. If we had an office, that was one of the things that I always would bring in on Monday, and I made a lot of friends. So it's a bummer that everything's remote now. But yeah, IMSA champion last year when I was working with TRD, we won the IMSA GTD Pro Championship, which was a big feat. That racing league is dominated by Porsche and Cadillac, so pretty big deal. Got a ring for it, and yeah, my career started about 15 years ago at Verizon. I was a network engineer. Um, I bounced around a little bit, and then when cloud started getting popular, I got told that I need to learn how to get cloud certified, or I got to find a new job. So my career shifted from network engineering to DevOps and SRE. I did some SRE work at Splunk. I was a TAM at AWS supporting Toyota, which led me to Toyota Racing for 2 years, where I was a DevOps engineer and helped developers build fast, reliable software. About this talk, I want to kind of go over what our standpoint is at Grafana when it comes to AI. When it comes to AI, right? We're real bullish on the future of AI when it's applied to observability, as long as it's intentional, right? Our approach to building functionality is simple. We use it to decrease toil and to create a more gentle learning curve for the users and the practitioners who are using our tools to solve problems. Um, and when you do that, it helps our customers understand, their systems better, right? And so that's what our approach is to this. And I'm going to go over some things that we have both on the open source and the cloud side to kind of show you how we do that. So let's get it started. Yesterday, Brandy talked about observability and logs, metrics, traces. If you're curious what observability is, the what is your metrics, right? Your counters, your percentages, those types of the things. That's what you use to identify what's going on or what's happening. Your logs are the why, right? They give you a lot better description of what is actually going on and why it's happening, and then your traces are your where, right? Where you find your latency, where you can see the whole path and figure out where the problem is. There's a fourth tier that's coming. It's called profiles. It'll be it's starting to evolve into the fourth tier. Profiles to me, and the best description that I've had so far is they're like your dashboard for your code resources, right? So like your dash in your car tells you your RPMs, your gas gauge, and all that. Profiles tell you where your code resources are being executed and stuff, so you can see it in kind of like a dashboard view, right? And so I didn't put it up there, but I did want to mention that's I would be shocked if it's not part of a 4 tier system, moving forward. So what are some of the challenges of observability, right? Well, the promise of observability is that it provides teams with the ability to maintain healthier and more reliable applications and infrastructure, right? But there's a lot more to that. There's some culture things that are involved, but getting to that mature state comes with a lot of really big challenges. If you're working at a company that has giant scale and stuff, moving data from one place to another is expensive and hard. Um, Physics, gravity, you name it, the cost of moving data back and forth can get you. So it can be challenging. And then you also require deep domain knowledge and experienced engineers who can like find the root cause quicker. You might have a team of SREs, but the one that's been there for 8 years has seen the same app break like 4 times. So as soon as they get that alert for that app, they're like, well, here we are again, crash back, loop off, things like that. And so and that you can't just like hire that on, right? That takes time, that takes domain knowledge, and it takes actually being down in the trenches to get that. And so yeah, it's nice when you have those, but sometimes when you don't have those, it can be harder to have a good incident command slash SRE DevOps program. And then, your engineers spend time on the toilsome tasks where it's like communication or parsing through logs. I can remember back in the day when I worked at Verizon and I'd do my deployments, I would have like 14 windows of secure CRT open, and I was just watching that tail dash F, and I'd do my change, and then I'd be like, all right, which one, where's the error coming from? There's a lot of tools now, but I mean, if you've been in the field long, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like tail dash F, grep error, or grep bad, whatever. So um, that's that's part of it, and that's part of proactively addressing anomalies, right? That it's really challenging, especially the more complex distributed systems you get, and it's really kind of tasks that humans are kind of not meant for, right? I mean, there are some humans that are really good at it in pattern recognition and stuff, but overall, I think that to me, like, okay, hey, I got error here, 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 here. AI seems like a good use case to be, aggregate all of those, create a summary description. So when the practitioner comes in, it's like, hey, okay, I got to do this and this and this. And even more mature is when you get to where you don't even need a human to integrate into that. You just have a workbook or a script that gets ran based on the error analysis, and boom, you have a self-healing system. So, um, why Grafana Cloud? Well, the AI that we have integrated really gives you a faster MTTR with an amplified experience, right? And that means that your ability to proactively transact and process things happens quicker. Faster MTTR, faster MTTI means better user experience. Better user experience equals happy customers, right? Happy customers equals more money for the business. So normally, when things are breaking and it's taking a long time, or the customers are notifying you of the issues, you're not having happy customers, and that costs the business money. So um, the if we can amplify and create a better experience for resolving these things, then we're gonna in turn save the company money. Less toil is also like something as an SRE, like that's principle number one, right? Like whenever I was an SRE and I came into a group of devs or an org, the first thing I look at is like, all right, what are we doing that is repeatable, that can be automated with a bash script? And so less toil, the better. And then the last thing is predicting issues with the forecasting and some of the cool like metrics things that you can do. You can say, okay, we know on Black Friday we get our load balancers are going to get hammered with probably at least 2 to 10x more traffic. It could be more, it could be less, but we know if the past 5 Black Fridays that we've had, we've needed to preheat like 4 more load balancers than normal Fridays or whatever. And so being able to predict that issues proactively is super important, and it's really nice to have outlier protection. For some of the AI and ML services that are available on Grafana Cloud and open source, here's a representation of that. To the left of the y-axis showcases the features that are available for open source, and then everything on the right is only on Grafana Cloud. So I always want to talk about that. At Grafana, we are an open source first company. Grafana started as an open source project. The founder, Torkel, is still the #1 contributor of the open source project, so it's still very important to us. Now, one of the cool things that we have integrated into Grafana Cloud is forecasting, and I use this quite a bit, and I think it's really cool where you can better predict time series behavior, and look at your historical trends to predict to reduce risk, right, and improve your efficiency. As you can see, there's a kind of a bending curve, so that yellow line, you're going to be either above or below that, but you can kind of hone in on where you want to be within your systems. And it doesn't matter what metric it is. That's very useful in my opinion. And as far as data sources grow, the machine learning supports Prometheus, Graphite, Loki, Postgres, Influx, BigQuery, Snowflake, Splunk, and Datadog. So you can use these on other data sources and backends, which is really cool. You can also establish dynamic alerts to more proactively address systematic anomalies. So if I was going to set up an alert, I'd want anything that goes over that red line, right? And so whenever we start getting transactions or metrics that start popping over there, then you can get alert, because you know it might not be killing something yet, but that's abnormal behavior. And so if we have extended abnormal behavior, that might lead to an outage, right? And so using these kind of trends is really critical when you're dealing with observability. For outlier detection, this one's kind of self-explanatory, right? Like you got a transaction of everything going, and then whoa, you know, one picks up that. In distributed systems, that's been a thing that I've noticed throughout my career, that you know the black swan events or something can pretty much be identified if you're using machine learning stuff. So uh, outlier protection is important. Uh, it allows you to spot when one instance in your cluster like is getting hit way more than the others, or you know, outlier. You can set outlier based alerts. So like whenever that something happens, like I said, it might not lead to an outage immediately, but you can recognize like, okay, we're starting to see some weird behavior. Now we can be more proactive versus wait for customer to call because the website's down. I think Tim was talking about that with Tinder too, and how like it's all about the context. Just because it works doesn't mean it works, right? It might be slow, which causes a bounce rate, which means your customers are leaving your site, but nothing's down. So SIFT, this one's pretty cool. SIFT looks across all signals to find correlated changes. It doesn't solve the problems, but it really expands the search space. You can accelerate engineers to understand system behavior change, and it's accessible from on-call incidents and more, and even directly in Grafana. So it's a really cool tool. If you're wanting to look at something like this is resource connections from cube state metrics and slow requests from traces, you can kind of correlate more things and you have more of a broader picture when you're looking at it. If you've ever troubleshooted something, you know, in these like high stress situations, you just got woken up at 2 a.m., right? Because something's down and you're on call, you get that pager duty warning or whatever. And the more broader of a canvas you can look at, the quicker you're going to be able to identify and fix the problem, so you can go back to sleep. So this type of tool really makes it better for the engineers, which, you know, as a former engineer, it's important. It's important not to burn out your SREs and your DevOps engineers or your on-call folks, because like when you're constantly working stress, your cortisol levels are raised, and you know you have mental health issues. You're not sleeping. It affects your family. Like it's important to not burn out by pager fatigue and stuff like that. So this doesn't have anything to do with that, but this definitely helps with viewing a broader canvas for troubleshooting your tools. And here is another part of SIFT where we're showing the detail on the error pattern logs using Drain. In this case, we've got a group of logs surrounding the KS services, and we found several patterns, right? Like the analysis found 4 of these patterns with significant changes, and then when you drill on that X error, it shows the exact logical item that represents those patterns. So this is really a cool use case, because I've had those situations to where you look at a log and you're like, huh, that doesn't seem right, but it doesn't have like a warn or an error message, right? And then when you actually go back and figure out, like, that's the like camel or the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Like that event actually correlated to all of these failures later on down the line. And so when you can kind of group those together and then be able to kind of go through back and forth, it saves from the tail dash S madness. Pretty cool stuff. This is also only available in Grafana Cloud. Now, the dashboard assistant, let me go over here. This is a really cool feature, and I'll go ahead and play the demo, see if we can get this to work. But as you can see right here, we're in the Grafana just basic view, and you can kind of go through here, and what the AI is going to do is it's going to look at the dash and kind of give you a summarized view. So who here is bad at labeling things? Me, right? So this actually really helps. So when you're, you know, data scientist or whatever is building dashboards, you can kind of, you know, use AI to do that. That saves time. Like I can say about 75% of the dashboards that I've created have no descriptions. Because as soon as I create it, I'm like, why do you need a description? It's a dashboard. Just look at it, right? But this helps those that are in, and that's something like I kind of want to get back to that, right? Like you have those domain knowledge from the engineers, the old grumpy ones that have been there, and then you have the new people that come in. This type of tool helps the new people come in and kind of create their own canvas for troubleshooting. I know I personally had specific things I look at and specific things I don't look at, and every engineer is different. And so the dashboard assistant, also available in open source, really helps the dashboard creation experience. And it makes them more robust and consumable. All right, go back over here. Oh, that's stuff the demo now. All right, and so the next demo I'm going to show is the incident auto summary. So have you ever worked an incident to where, let's just say like 4 different things break? You're going into the postmortem and you have to write a long essay about what happened, right? And you have to do this for your executive leadership because they're wondering, hey, we pay you all this money to make sure this stuff doesn't break. Why did it break? And so I've been in that situation. It can be cumbersome. It can be I get really anxious, especially when I'm writing things. I think Tim mentioned the critiqued PR. That can be something I've been through an Amazon narrative review, and I don't know if you know the culture of the narrative review, but you basically write a paper about what you're about to do for your plan or whatever, and then you present it up to leadership, and it's like the Mike Tyson. You get critiqued and everything. So yeah, incident auto summaries can be painful. I know as an SRE, I hated doing them. I know they're very valuable and very important because you might go back and look at years down the line. So it's important that you get as much detail and everything as possible and you take them seriously. A lot of times you don't. Well, with this tool, you can easily do that, right? And so we're in incident IRM right now, and what you can do is you can select on there and then generate an auto summary. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you a, a summary just like that. So that probably, to write that out, probably would have taken me or another engineer at least an hour, right? Because you got to gather all your information, you got to write it down, you got to rewrite it, because the first things that you write are never what you want to present to the executives and everything, and so on. So I really like that feature of IRM. I think communication is key, and the more you can document things too, like this will help the engineers down the line because it'll give you a detailed explanation based on the data, and so there's no bias, there's no human bias. It's as accurate as you can get. All right, and I did it again. We started it off. No. So, and anybody have any questions so far? No. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, well, those are from demo content, and we just recorded demo content. But I mean, I'm sure they've definitely happened. I was just recording that to show how the tool works. Yeah, and so we can do profile analysis. Now, remember I talked about that 4th tier, right? And the profiles, and you kind of see the flame graph of how, like, you see everything, and it's all in one picture. Well, the profile analysis can also take AI, look at that profile, and give you a very sophisticated response back. And this is something that's pretty cool as well. And profiles, in my mind, are going to be the 4th pillar of observability. It's a little bit more cumbersome to set up. It's not just like plug and play like some of the Prometheus stuff is, but it's definitely the next step in monitoring and observability, and having all the data points you can from your tools. The flame graph AI helps you understand the profiling data and using an LLM to assist with the interpretation. It also provides a convenient way to visualize the performance data, and these graphs provide a clear understanding of the resource allocation and bottlenecks within the whole application. So this is really good for app devs wanting to understand your profiles of the code that you wrote, the AI functionality in this, like I said, is very intentional. You're kind of getting at Grafana Labs. We're very intentional. We're not just putting like a Chat GPT wrapper in front of things. We're making sure that it provides value to the customers. And the next thing I want to talk about is asserts and how asserts helps with faster root cause analysis. So Grafana Asserts allows us to correlate things across the board and prioritize the anomalies across time to understand the full scope, right? So within Asserts, you get a single view to stare at the problem and stop and figure out how to fix it. You get to start at the problem. Sorry, not stare at the problem. You're not just going to stare at it and look at it and be like, what's going on? No, you get to start here. And you have a lot of different options with asserts. On the next slide, I have BlackRock's talk from Grafana Cloud last year where they really dive deep in it. I highly recommend watching that. But the assert screen, like this is more of the flame graph, but you also have the star maps. If you've seen the star maps to where every single service is kind of looks like a spider web, right? And then you can kind of click in and then you see the full transactional process. It's really cool. And yeah, so customer story, take a picture of that and watch that talk. It's a really good deep dive on asserts and how asserts has helped BlackRock with, enhanced issue detection. They did reduce their MTTR, and at scale, they were able to minimize engineering toil out of the box too. It's really cool. It's a great tool. If I had a little bit more time, I would have done a demo, but I don't. I want to save some time for question and answers and get to the call to action. Try out Grafana Cloud free. Yeah, how's it going?
Oh yeah, no, you're big. I was just I was going to ask, what do you obviously in the system it doesn't know your system. So what do you use to train your data initially, and then how does it weight your system relative to the training?
I was talking about for the LLM, so we're already using pre-trained LLMs. I don't have an actual answer on the data that is used for those LLMs because I think specific parts of it, and then you also get to choose your LLM, so you get to train it on your own data on some of those features. But I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, because I look at that and thinking about also, how do you validate the reasonableness of your answer? So there's obviously metrics out there.
Yeah.
AI engineer.
Yeah, and there's an AI LLM app that is in beta still, and we're not like fully releasing that because there was a talk by Chris Marchbanks of Observability. If you look at it, he goes into detail about why we haven't gone like full all in on the AI and why like we're only getting to 75-80% results. In our mind, it should be 90, right? And because the data is so critical and everything. If you sync with me afterwards, I can get you that talk, but he talks about that and more and just goes into that. So yeah, but here's a QR code on getting started. The free program is really nice, man. It's got a lot they give you for free, and will be free forever. So check it out. Also have Discord. Grafana's GitHub page has a lot of useful resources. The community is awesome. It's a huge community, and there's, if you do want to do stuff on your own in the open space sports, you don't have enterprise budgets. There's a lot of ways you can get not the full Grafana Cloud experience, but you can get a good observability experience if that's your jam. So, anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah. What was the difference between the profile? What's the difference between that and tracing?
Tracing? Yeah.
It was given the same information that like Tempo did.
Yeah. It's a little bit more expanded version of that, right? And it's at the EPBF level. So you're also getting EPBF. So yeah. EPBF is an enhanced Berkeley packet filter. It's like the networking layer of containers. And so it's, yeah. Very similar in the visualization aspect of it. Just cloud, yeah, just an IRM. That's the tool, incident manager. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely send the slides. I can share those. Yeah. Connect with, yeah, and if you go back, I do have a LinkedIn link if you want to connect on my LinkedIn, my hi hello, and also has my blog. I do have a blog where I talk about DevOps, SRE, mental health, fishing, barbecue, anything I feel like writing about. So yeah, just whatever you feel. So, and that's a picture of me with Mr. Toyota. Funny fact, when we was in, I didn't know that was him, and I was just so excited. I picked him up and hugged him and stuff, and then I realized, like in our all hands, they're like, "Yeah, Mr. Toyota was with us," and I looked, I'm like, "Well, I'll be damned, he was." So, yeah, no, it was cool. It was a fun time. That was at Coda last year when Corey won. I was only at 2 wins, and that's the only victory lane picture I got. So it's very treasured. But yeah, thanks y'all.